In 1899, in a cramped apartment in San Francisco's Chinatown, a 12-year-old girl was told her future had already been decided. Her name was Tye Leung. She had been promised in marriage to a man she had never met, a man much older than her, living in Montana. There was no discussion, no choice. So she ran. Not far. Just far enough to reach the only place in Chinatown where a girl like her could disappear without being dragged back, the Presbyterian Mission Home on Sacramento Street. It was run by a woman people whispered about, Donna Regina Cameron, a missionary known for carrying a fire axe and breaking down doors to rescue trafficked girls. Over the years, she would save thousands. And now, standing in front of her was a small, frightened girl who refused to accept the life chosen for her. Cameron took her in, gave her shelter, taught her English, and quickly realized the girl was not just afraid. She was sharp, quick, and unusually aware. She gave her a nickname, Tiny. Tye stood barely over 4 feet tall, but what she would become was anything but small. By her late teens, Tye wasn't just living at the mission anymore. She was going out with Cameron on raids, into brothels, into locked rooms. But now, she wasn't the one being rescued. She was the voice. The first voice the girls heard, when the doors came crashing down, speaking in their own dialect, telling them they were safe, that no one would hurt them, that they could come out, and they believed her, because she sounded like them, because she had been one of them. In 1910, something unexpected happened. The U.S. government came looking for her. They needed a Chinese woman, an interpreter at Angel Island, the place where Chinese immigrants were detained, questioned, and often turned away under the Chinese Exclusion Act. If Ellis Island was the front door, Angel Island was the interrogation room. Cameron recommended Tye. She sat for the federal civil service exam and passed. At just 23, she became the first Chinese-American woman ever employed by the U.S. federal government. A girl who had once run from an arranged marriage was now inside the system, deciding who got to enter the country. A reporter once asked if the job was dull. She said, "Dull? Never." She listened closely, not just to translate, but to understand. Catching small details, hearing stories of change across the ocean, stories of people trying to become free, just as she had in 1912. She did something even more remarkable. She walked into a polling station and voted, becoming one of the first Chinese-American women to cast a ballot, years before most women in America had that right. She didn't do it lightly. She studied the candidates, read about the issues, and made her decision carefully. "I wanted to know what was right," she said, "not to act blindly." But her life wasn't about to get easier. At Angel Island, she met Charles Schultz, an immigration inspector. They fell in love quietly because California law made their marriage illegal. So they left the state, went to Washington, and married there. When they returned, the consequences followed. The government didn't care that the marriage was legal elsewhere. They cared about race. Tye lost her job, and Charles lost his too. Just like that. They built a life anyway for children. Long nights, hard work. Tye became a bookkeeper, then a switchboard operator, working night shifts for years, quietly connecting calls in Chinatown while the rest of the city slept. When Charles died suddenly in 1935, she raised their children alone. No recognition, no spotlight, just resilience. Then, decades later, something unexpected happened again. The same government that had pushed her out came back. After World War II, new laws allowed Chinese-American servicemen to bring their wives to the U.S. And those women needed help navigating immigration. They needed someone who understood, someone who could translate not just language, but fear, confusion, and hope. The government knew who to call. They knew what they had done to her, and still, they asked. She said yes. That is the part that stops people. She had every reason to refuse, every reason to turn away, but she didn't, because quiet courage is not always loud. Sometimes it is choosing to show up anyway for the people who need you, even at the door of an institution that once shut you out. Tye Leung lived many lives: interpreter, civil servant, outcast, mother, widow, worker, bridge. She died in 1972 at the age of 84. But what matters most is not what she survived. It is what she chose. At 12, she ran from a door that was closing on her life. And for decades after, she became the person who held doors open for others.